Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 619, Theater of the Absurd. The crazy stories that happened this week will be more the tail end of this episode, but that's why I'm calling it Theater of the Absurd, because there's some really wild stories that happened this week. But first, I've been saying this for a while, Brisk Iced Tea's Blueberry Pomegranate, which I got at Walmart. Interesting smell, so let's take a sip. Okay, nothing spectacular. It's a good, refreshing drink. No real strong flavors. The blueberry is not too strong. Pomegranate's not too strong. It's just like drinking flavored water. I mean, it really doesn't have any outstanding features. It's still not bad. I mean, it's good. It's refreshing. It's cool. It does have a little bit of a flavor to it, but nothing. Blueberry tends not to be too overpowering if done properly, and pomegranate might be that thing that is the good evening thing with the blueberry. So it's not bad. It doesn't really taste like anything. I was really thirsty, so I drank like half of it already. So let's try to ease on down that. But no, pretty good, pretty decent. And I get it again. To be honest, most of the Brisk iced teas that I drink don't really have much of a flavor to it. So, but they're still good and they're still refreshing, and I still do them for my show. So that's what that. It is Saturday, August 9th, 2025, episode 619. Yep, been chugging right along. I got a whole bunch of weird stories coming up at the end of the show, because that's just where they came in my plot line. There might be a few that pop up periodically during the middle of the show, but the rest of the stuff here is about pop culture stuff, which is what my show is basically more about, hence the Star Trek shirt also. My daughter is finally back amongst us. Her camp finished on Thursday, and she surprised me by coming home on Thursday. She had told everybody she was going to be home on Friday, but she hitched a ride with my wife, her mom, and she's home, and she's been home now for the last couple of days. Noah had to camp out with his Irvine staff and then went to his friend's house. If you watched my list show episode, my second part of my list show episode, I filmed last night, you hear me talking to them because they were watching briefly. So tomorrow, Sunday, I'm going to have early dinner with my dad and stepmom. And then Wednesday, my wife and son are going to go to Sea Base, which is a scout thing down off the coast of Florida. They'll be on a boat for a week, and just be me and Noelle. And then Noelle has her orientation for college on the 19th, and then school starts. So August is blowing through here. I mean, 10 days before her orientation. It's the 9th of August already. So it's crazy how fast this month is going so far. So without further ado, let's talk about what's new this week in pop culture and food and science and stuff like that. First up, Percy Jackson Season 3 has started filming. Season 2 is set to debut in December this year, I think around the 11th or 12th. But it has been renewed for Season 3. They're already filming it right now, which is good, because that way you can keep, the kids are aging, so you want to keep them within the age range they're supposed to be. So you start filming it, and the third one takes place in the winter. So the one shot they had of the actor who plays Percy, you saw in the background there was some fake snow on the ground, and he was wearing like a heavier clothes and stuff like that. That was the middle of summer, so hopefully he's going to be okay. But Percy Jackson Season 3 is officially starting filming, so they'll have that ready, and we'll probably have that available to us sometime next year. So probably December of next year. So that's good. On the flip side, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, after 6 months, has finished filming, finished production. So the movie is now in the hands of his editor. And we shall see that in a little less than a year now. It's going to be sometime mid-July is when it's going to show up. So Could be pretty interesting because it had a great cast and it's Christopher Nolan. So we'll see how that rolls out. Was not expecting this at all, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer's reboot has started filming. I did not think it was going to start filming for like another year or so, but no, they've actually started filming the new reboot. So I guess it's been officially greenlit, and Sarah Michelle Gellar's been spotted on set, as is the new Buffy and some other stuff as well. We got our first new season of Fortnite, not the first one, the new season of Fortnite came out on Thursday. It's a bug invasion on the island, so it's kind of a creepy sort of thing, but again, it's and some different and interesting weapons, and the Power Rangers are now in Fortnite. So if you grew up with the Power Rangers and you wanted to play as them, you could join Fortnite because they have the Power Rangers now. They have Halo. They have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They have some members of Family Guy and King of the Hill. So a lot of collaborations. Already had 2 Vic Royales and came in second a few times, and have played pretty decently. So it's been fairly happy with it. We've been seeing a lot of behind-the-scenes filming of the new Spider-Man Brand New Day, which we were not expecting to see because normally most Marvel productions keep a lid on their on their sets and stuff like that, but they are blatantly showing stuff, including Tom Holland in his new outfit. They're doing practical effects with the web slinging, so we've seen that as well. And we also have seen Zendaya on set with Tom at the grave of Aunt May. So we're getting some interesting look, and a lot of people are saying, they can't believe that Marvel's letting this so much behind the scenes stuff get in there, but everyone's like also saying it's the perfect marketing for it. You don't have to pay for it as much. You drop some on-set pictures, you get people excited and talking about the movie. So when the movie comes out next year, they'll be ready for it. A lot of people are like, spoiler alert, blah, 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 but it was already going to be spoiled anyway, probably. So we're not showing everything because apparently John Bernthal has finished filming not only his mini movie production for mini special for Disney Plus, but apparently this could be a misnomer. Maybe they mistook his one shot with a Brand New Day, but they also seem to say that he has finished filming his role in Brand New Day also, which either means he's barely in it or they had it mixed up with his one shot. So we'll see about that. Sorry. We got our first poster for the horror film Good Boy, about a dog that's facing off against evil. That's going to be coming to movie theaters soon. New Paramount CEO is a fan of the Star Trek movies and is actively trying to get a new Star Trek movie greenlit with the Chris Pine-led team of Star Trek fans. So hopefully that'll be taken care of as well. Smoothie King has released a ketchup smoothie in association with Heinz Ketchup, which is the only best ketchup in the world. But a ketchup smoothie, yeah, no, that's not good at all. Preseason football has started. Baltimore Ravens won their game 24-16, preseason game 24-16 on Thursday. And today, the Jacksonville Jaguars are facing off against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Jacksonville Jaguars field goal kicker kicked a 70-yard field goal, which is a new NFL record for preseason. It was at the end of the half. It's preseason, so there probably wasn't a massive rush to try to stop it. There probably wasn't a big block to try to knock it down, and they were already getting decimated by the Steelers, so it really wasn't a big deal. So if he can do that in a regular season game, then he'll have the NFL record. But right now, the NFL record is still held by Justin Tucker, who hit a 66-yard field goal a couple years ago. But the fact that he nailed a 70-yard field goal is very impressive. So pretty cool. Speaking of football, Sydney Sweeney, who's gotten herself in some hot water, which I'd like to join her in, but no, that's besides the point. Came out on a sports talk show and said that if the Ravens win the Super Bowl, she will take off all her clothes and run outside naked, screaming and yelling. So just more incentive to let the Ravens win the Super Bowl this year. And this is not fake news. This is not The Onion, nothing like that. It's an actual comment she made on a podcast. So pretty interesting there. One of the two major deaths this week. I mean, all deaths are major when it comes to somebody, but famous deaths. There were two this week. The first one is Jim Lovell, the captain of Apollo 13 and Apollo 8 and a whole bunch of other stuff, well portrayed by Tom Hanks in the movie Apollo 13. He was a NASA astronaut, did all kinds of stuff like that. He passed away at the age of 97 this week. The other big death this week was Lonnie Anderson, actress who played in WKRP in Cincinnati, was a sex bomb and ended up getting married also to Burt Reynolds before they divorced. But still kind of interesting. And she did other stuff as well. So it's not just like she was only known for that, but that's her most famous role as being on WKRP in Cincinnati and then being married to Burt Reynolds for a little while. David Bautista has been cast as the villain in the Highlander reboot and also is looking for a role in Roadhouse 2. So he's making a quick move here real quick. John Cena and Kevin Hart are making a film called The Leading Man, an action comedy. So that's wrestlers making good there. So they're doing pretty decent there. I'm jumping all over the place here because these are all connected, even though they were spanned over a couple days. I'll get to the other ones later. Ghostface, the mask killer from the Scream movies, will be making an appearance in Fort Nightmares, beginning a skin this year with a jump scare metric that he it's a movement that he does. So it'll be interesting to see how that does. And rumors also abounding that Jason Voorhees will also be joining with a skin for Fortnite as well. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. We have a couple months before that actually hits, but we'll see what happens. The Curiosity rover on Mars discovered coral-like rocks on the surface of Mars, which proves that they're petrified, so they're not alive. So they're not live coral, but that proves that there were at one time what scientists believe that Mars was actually had water, and this coral they found was coral that was in Mars, meaning that there was life on Mars at one time. Again, that's the speculation. We'll have to take a closer look at the rock, if it might just be a coincidence that it looks like coral rocks, but they already thought that it was covered with water, and they've already found rocks and stuff like that that are only found in water environments. So it makes sense that you might find some sort of coral in there as well. Coral is a living creature, so hence there was life on Mars. So that's pretty interesting. Speaking of coincidences, Friday was August 8th, so 8/8, and at work we shipped out 88 UPS packages on 8/8. So I thought that was kind of a neat little numbers thing there. Thunderbolts is going to hit Disney Plus on August 27th. So that's the day my daughter starts her classes at college and 2 days after my son goes back to school. So that's good on that. The live action Lilo and Stitch is going to hit Disney Plus sometime in September, which tracks because Thunderbolts came out before the live action Lilo and Stitch. Only by a few weeks, but it still did. And it's coming out the 27th, so technically it would make sense that a few weeks later, Lilo and Stitch would come out on Disney Plus. So you're probably looking around the 15th of September, which is coincidentally the anniversary date of my show. So, yay. Mariano Rivera the former Yankees pitcher, who I don't think is in the Hall of Fame yet because I think he only retired a few years ago, or maybe he is in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. But he was pitching in an Yankees old timers game today, and he tore his ACL. Just crazy, man. He was just pitching in an old timers game and he wrecked his arm. It's crazy. It just absolutely boggles my mind. On our side of baseball, Tom Davis, Adam Jones, and Joe Orsulak were inducted into the Orioles Hall of Fame. Each team has their own Hall of Fame for their players, because not all players are going to be able to make it to the main Hall of Fame. But it's nice to have some recognition of their work for that specific team. And so the Orioles have a long tradition of having new members joining every year. And this year happened to be Tom Davis, who wasn't a player, but was an announcer for a long time for the Orioles. And Adam Jones, who was one of the best and most popular Orioles players in the 21st century. And Joe Orsulak, who was a hell of a utility guy as well. So congratulations to all of them. Sylvester Stallone's Tulsa King gets a season 3 trailer with Samuel L. Jackson appearing in that before he gets his own spinoff from the show. Dipped Reese's Graham Bears is a new thing coming out soon. So Graham Bears dipped in Reese's chocolate will be maybe your next favorite snack coming up soon. Cruel Summer season 3, never heard of it, but it's a show that was canceled 2 years ago, and they decided to, after its cancellation, said, hey, you know what, let's just redo it again. So a season 3 of Cruel Summer, even after cancellation 2 years ago, is in the works right now. We get our first look at and the trailer for Brendan Fraser's new film Rental Family, set to come out the week before Thanksgiving. I had no idea about this movie, and I watched the trailer, and it looks amazing. And it looks like Brendan Fraser potentially could be up for another potential Oscar. It's a really great premise, too. It's one you don't really see all that often. And you think you would see it more often because it is such kind of a cliche thing to do. But Brendan Fraser plays an actor who is in Japan trying to find work, and he really hasn't been able to find a lot of work. So he's getting older, and there's not much work right there. But his agent, I guess, has found a new job for him, but it's not for a movie. It is for pretending to be the father of a young girl with a single mom. Because I guess in Japan, being a single mom is not good. And she hasn't seen her family in a while, but the family finally wants to see the family, stuff like that, and she can't come to them. This is just what I got from the trailers. I could be completely off about this. And can't show up without like a husband to be like a single mom. So she is renting Brendan Fraser to portray her husband, father of her daughter. And so Brendan Fraser going to take the job because he needs the money. And he, of course, bonds with the girl and might even have a thing for the mom, and then helps the family out who's having their own issues. And it looks like has a really strong emotional core. And looks really, really interesting. I had not thought about it, and is now jumped to onto my list of films I wouldn't mind seeing this fall. So check that out. Rental Family is set to debut November 21st on film and movie theaters. So I'm sure we'll be talking more about that later on. K-pop Demon Hunters, which is my wife's new obsession, is set to be released in movie theaters at the end of August for a special sing-along version. And one of the special not Fandango, but one of these special event film things. There's an event company that does special films for movie theaters. Could be re-releases of movies or stuff like that. This group has released all the Miyazaki movies in movie theaters. It might only be for a couple days, but they do show up on there. So we'll see K-pop Demon Hunters the last week of August and a sing-along version in movie theaters. Maybe not all movie theaters, but it's potential we could. More behind the scenes pictures are coming up of the Devil Wears Prada 2. Speaking of how Spider-Man has been having a lot, Devil Wears Prada 2 has been having a ton of behind the scenes stuff also, including looks like a set piece set during a Met Gala. And also we meet Anne Hathaway's new leading man, Peter Bromwell, I think his name is, and there's this scene that they were filming where she's dancing and singing and doing and twirling this gorgeous blue dress. And there was this great scene which shows what life is like on a movie set. Anne Hathaway and all these extras are walking in one direction down the road, and then they stop, turn, and walk the other direction. So obviously they're being filmed from different angles, so they'll be able to edit it into there so it looks seamless or whatever. So it's interesting to see behind the scenes sort of stuff about that. But yeah, you got that going on. Plus, everybody is swooning over Katie Holmes and Joshua Jackson. I talked about that last week when they first announced it. They a lot of these boomers, not boomers, but a lot of these Gen X or stuff like that who grew up with or who found Dawson's Creek to be one of their favorite shows and love the Pacey and I forget the Katie Holmes' character's name, their dynamic and their chemistry. And the fact that Katie Holmes is directing a trilogy of a romantic comedy that is playing opposite of Joshua Jackson to show off their chemistry as well. Both of them are now single, so everybody is saying, hey, maybe they could get together. That would just make everything perfect for our lives, because we loved how Pacey and her character got together, and to have it happen in real life would be so cool. And just the shots you've been seeing from the set, the two of them are absolutely exploring their chemistry and enjoying their friendship. So just kind of funny stuff, but we're seeing a lot of stuff about that as well. Pete Davidson and Eddie Murphy just worked on a film called The Drop, I think, about the armored car drivers that get held up, and they have to figure out a way to escape from them. But Pete Davidson enjoyed working with Eddie Murphy so much that he wants to do a remake of Martin Scorsese's King of Comedy that he and Eddie Murphy would star in together again. I would assume that Eddie Murphy would be the star of the late night show. In the case of Scorsese version, that would be the Jerry Lewis role, and Davidson would play the De Niro role about the guy who thinks he's a comic genius. So he kidnaps the host of the Late Show and convinces him to let him host the Tonight Show while being held captive by his girlfriend. So that could be interesting to see if they can pull it off. I don't know if it's necessary, but it might be interesting to check it out. East of Wall trailer set to debut August 15th is a modern Western about what it's like now in the 21st century Old West. It's set in North Dakota, South Dakota. I think it was filmed there also. So we get the first trailer for that came out. So the hope that Mike Colter might reprise his role as Luke Cage might have just gone down the toilet, because he has just signed on to star in a new legal drama called Cupertino. He could still work his way around it, but we'll see. I think it's a little out of the way now. Catherine Bigelow is set to direct a film called A House of Dynamite. It's going to be her first film in a little while. After the success of this summer's Final Destination film, a new one is obviously in the works right now. Will Gluck, the director of Anyone But You, has decided to see if Lightning Can Strike Twice. That film starred Sydney Sweeney and I forget his name. And I like him too. I can't think of his name right now because my brain is just addled. This one, however, stars Monica Barbaro and Colin Turner. Pedro Pascal is set to star in Tony Gilroy's new film Behemoth. Leonardo DiCaprio may be headed to a lead role in Michael Mann's sequel to Heat and Heat 2. We don't know if he'd be playing Robert De Niro's character in a flashback or if he'd be playing Val Kilmer's character in the sequel, because the sequel literally takes place right after the end of the original Heat movie, which is now 20 some years in the past. Hell, maybe even closer to 30 years. Val Kilmer's passed away. Would have been too old for the role anyway. So they're going to need to recast anyway. So we'll see what happens. But he is tapped to do that. That could be pretty interesting for his career. A millionaire Texas rancher was fatally gored by a buffalo in a South African hunting party. It's illegal to hunt these buffalo, but he didn't care. He's rich. He flew to South Africa, illegally entered the grounds to try to hunt down this buffalo. Had it in its sights, but the buffalo said, and gored him to death. So that's all I'm going to say about that. The Denmark Zoo is asking people to donate their small pets as food for their captive predators. Now, I'm assuming it's dead small pets, because that's just cruel if you say, you know what, I don't want you anymore. Like, hey, Pepper, I'm going to feed you to a lion or something. That's not cool. I would never do that, and most people wouldn't. But Denmark's like, hey, we'll pay you money if you drop off your pet to us, and we can feed the predators with it. Hopefully it's dead. An army of robot bunnies. See, Theater of the Absurd. There's all kinds of crazy stuff this week. An army of robot bunnies have been deployed in Florida to fight off invasive pythons. What the hell? It's Florida, so I should be expected that. This isn't Florida, but it's something that Florida man would probably do, but didn't. In this case, a 1-year-old in Bihar, which is, I guess, an African village or South American village, something like that. A 1-year-old bites a cobra to death, and the boy survived. So a 1-year-old boy sees a cobra. A cobra is becoming sort of threatening because he's a cobra. And he, I guess, picks him up and just bites him. And didn't ingest any of the poison, I guess, that's in the cobra. That's crazy. Where the hell is Bihar? That is a insane story. Again, Theater of the Absurd. That's why the episode is named that. Another death, Lou Conter, the last survivor of the USS Arizona, which was attacked during Pearl Harbor, has died at the age of 102. Shigetoshi Kotari, a 28-year-old boxer who was making his way up the boxing rankings, lost a fight a couple nights ago and ended up dead from the fight. So don't know exactly what happened. He was 28 years old, but it is, they say, the cause of death was due to the fight he had just been in a few days earlier. Big anniversary, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Tim Burton's first film, one of the most insanely absurd movies ever made. And there was a thread that had, can you pick your crazy movies? Pee-wee's Big Adventure is 40 years old today. Today, actually, is its anniversary. So 40 years ago today, Pee-wee's Big Adventure debuted in movie theaters. I really believe I went and saw it in the movie theater. I'm 100% certain I saw it in the movie theater. The Abyss, my favorite James Cameron. Well, I can't say my favorite because I like Terminator 2. I like True Regardless, but it's one of the better and underrated Jim Cameron movies. The Abyss debuted 36 years ago this week. The original Fantastic Four comic book by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee debuted 64 years ago this week. Transformers, the movie, the one where Optimus Prime dies and Judd Nelson voices the voice of one of the Transformers, and Orson Welles is the voice of Unicron. It was fucked up, man. I saw that in a movie theater. I know that. Debuted 39 years ago this week. Escape from LA, the sequel to Escape from New York, which is definitely not as good, debuted 29 years ago this week. And another film debuting 39 years ago this week was One Crazy Summer, which debuted 39 years ago this week also. Is a phenomenally great film, an underrated film that totally more people should see. And my favorite band, REM, they wrote a song called Don't Go Back to Rockville, which is about Mike Mills, who is one of the guitarists. He was the one who wrote the song. It details a relationship he had with a woman who lived in Rockville, Maryland, which is down near D.C. And she decided to leave him in Athens to come back to Rockville. And so he sings this song about Don't Go Back to Rockville. When they were still touring, the rumor I heard is that REM never played that song in any of their concerts except if it was in Washington or Baltimore. Those were the only two. I don't even think in Virginia they played. They might have played in Virginia. It would make sense, like in the DMV sort of area. Maybe even in Delaware they could have played. Maybe not Delaware so much, but maybe. But at least I know whenever they went to the concert venue at Columbia, which is where they had their last concert ever as a band, came to Maryland. They played Don't Go Back to Rockville, and they always play it when they come to Maryland. And I would assume, as I said, Washington also. So their anniversary of that, they released that single 41 years ago this week. It's a good song, too. It's not just because, I don't like it just because it's set in an area not too far from here. But it's actually a fairly decent song. Pretty good poppy one. I've never liked Wuthering Heights. I've never hidden from that. I've mentioned it on this show a number of times. I think Wuthering Heights is one of the worst books ever written. And yes, Emily Bronte is the writer of it. Anyway, Margot Robbie had a baby. And her first role after she recovered from having the baby, when she wanted to get back on that horse and ride, was she made a new updated version of Wuthering Heights from the director of Saltburn. And people who have seen snippets of it have intrigued me now, because I just don't like the characters. But here they have it as aggressively provocative and totally abrasive, which I guess is maybe my feelings for the book, because it really is a book about obsession. And but the fact that it is aggressively provocative is very interesting and totally abrasive. So I might have to check that out. Plus, I love Margot Robbie. I think she's great. But that's intriguing. I don't know when that's due to come out, but I think it was filmed earlier this year or late last year, so it should be out maybe next year probably. Sydney Sweeney's got 2 movies coming out this month. One is Eden, the long-awaited film from Ron Howard with quite a cast. It's got Jude Law, Ana de Armas, Vanessa Kirby, Daniel Bruhl, and Sydney. It was directed by Ron Howard, based on a true story. And Americana, which is a bizarre, almost Coen-esque sort of storyline about a woman who steals a Native American artifact and then wants to return it, something like that. Both new trailers for those movies debuted this week as well. Eden is supposedly rumored to have a very provocative, very visual threesome between Ana de Armas, Sydney Sweeney, and Daniel Bruhl. Nudity, sex like that, and 2 of the most attractive women in the world with Daniel Bruhl. Lucky man. Joe Theismann, has former quarterback of the Washington Redskins, has joined the Washington Commanders ownership group and will be a little more hands-on than usual, so that's pretty cool. Welcome to Derry has been renewed for a 2nd season in advance of its debut coming up here in a little bit. The Haunting of Hill House, one of the greatest Netflix limited series, written and directed by Mike Flanagan, was actually named was named the best Netflix original series of all time by Entertainment Weekly, and it absolutely rightfully deserves it. So Paramount, with their new ownership, has made their first foray into the world of film. They have acquired the rights to a highly sought-after film starring Timothée Chalamet, directed by James Mangold, called High Side. So they now have the rights, and they are going to distribute it. So look for that to be appearing really soon. Not soon, but from Paramount, probably next year sometime. This is weird. I remember seeing that Joe Keery from Stranger Things was making a movie with Liam Neeson, and it was called Cold Storage, and it was like an action film. And I don't remember where I saw it or whatever, but then it just sort of disappeared. No one said anything about it. They didn't say if it was actually filmed or whatever. It filmed. The first trailer for Cold Storage debuted this week, set to debut next year. And I got to tell you, it is one of the absolutely most insane trailers you're ever going to see in your life. Basically, what the premise seems to be is in a self-storage unit, Joe Keery and Ayo Edebawhe, I think, who was in The Bear, I think that's the actress who was in that, or something else, are trapped. I guess they work at the self-storage place, and a strange fungus is released and turns people into like a zombie-type creatures who are going after Joe Keery, and I think it's Ayo Edebawhe, but I could be wrong. She might be. I think I might be thinking of another movie that she's in. I think it's a different movie that she's in. So whoever the actress is that's working with, and Liam Neeson's on the outside, who knows Joe Keery's character may be his father, trying to have him get calmed down or whatever. So it just looks like an absolutely insane horror, action, even comedy film, because there's some weird comedy stuff, and Joe Keery's hair is just absolutely bizarre. If you want to see something really, really strange that could very well be one of the sleeper hits of next year, check out the trailer for Cold Storage. I can't put into words. I cannot describe it. It's something you have to see for yourself. So go run after you watch the show. Run, don't walk, and watch the Cold Storage trailer. It reminds me of Evil Dead 2, kind of. It has sort of that horror, comedy, action, crazy, insane stuff going on. And what the hell's up with Joe Keery's hair? Trust me on this. You're going to go lose your mind. And it doesn't look like Liam Neeson has much to do except be the guy, like the voice on the outside. It's going to focus more on Joe Keery and his female lead, who, since I probably already wrecked it, because I think Ayo Edebawhe is in a different film. Let's just look up the cast of Cold Storage here. Georgina Campbell. I'm sorry. Ayo Edebawhe, it's not him. Vanessa Redgrave's in it also. Sosie Bacon, who, not just with the last name, but looks like Kira and Kevin's daughter, because she looks a fucking hell of a lot like Kira Sedgwick, but not exactly like her. So interesting. But yeah, a fungus stored in a government facility gets out and wreaks havoc on the world. That's the premise of it. It is an absolutely, I can't even describe it. It is an absolutely insane trailer, and you just have to watch it for yourself. It looks absolutely, as I said, absolutely crazy, and Joe Keery's hair is insane, as I keep saying, and it could very well be a sleeper hit of next year, honestly. So we'll find out, or it could be a total failure. I'll check and see there's more of those. I'll check that online. Alicia Silverstone. This is actually quite an interesting cast. Alicia Silverstone, Oliver Hudson, who is Goldie Hawn's son, but not Kurt Russell's, because she had 2 kids before her and Kurt got together. But so Alicia Silverstone, Oliver Hudson, Jamila Jamil, who was in The Good Place, Pearson Fody, which is just a great name, but I've never seen them in anything, and Melissa Joan Hart, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, have been cast in A Merry Little Xmas, a holiday rom-com set to debut November 12th. Don't know if it's coming to movie theaters or if it's going to be on Netflix. It didn't really say, but the cast itself is intriguing, and it's a typical sort of holiday rom-com, sort of like, woman wants to have one last celebratory Christmas before her kids go to college or something like that. And her ex-husband shows up with his new girlfriend who is younger and better than her, sort of thing. So kind of an interesting look at stuff. Netflix is set to release 3 new Dr. Seuss adapted series. One is they're doing a series about redfish, bluefish. They're doing a Horton series, Horton Hears Who series, and they're doing Meet the Sneedles. So they're going to be 3 animated series on Netflix based on Dr. Seuss stuff. They also have a Roald Dahl movie coming out here soon, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I can't find it right now. But we'll see it. We'll talk about it in a second. We got our first trailer for The Paper, which is the Office spinoff. It actually is set in a newspaper office. I was not aware of that. That's what was going to be the case, but it's set to debut September 4th, and I was never watched The Office, so have no real interest in watching this as well. Donald Gleason, I think, is the lead in this, so it's kind of interesting to see that. Thursday Murder Club, the movie based on the popular bestseller directed by Chris Columbus, released a new trailer. It's set to debut August 28th. It says Ben Kingsley, Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, David Tennant are the main stars. That's the one that has... Is that the one with Iowa Byway? No, I don't think it is. There's another one I'm thinking about. But there we are. A 5.7 earthquake landed off the coast of Puerto Rico this week. A Willy Wonka Lego set is in the works, as is the Harry Potter Hogsmeade Lego set is in the works. Ben and Jerry have released a new flavor, chocolatey orange chunk. So you get a chocolatey orange flavored ice cream with fudgy chunks in it. So I don't know how that's going to taste. I guess orange and chocolate goes well. I don't know. Goosebumps, the series on Netflix, has been canceled after 2 seasons. Florida woman, this time not man, Florida woman, faked being a licensed nurse, treated 4,000 plus patients, and only got arrested after the hospital she was working at decided to promote her. So even though she faked being a nurse, she did a goddamn good job of it, because the hospital was like, you're goddamn great, we're going to promote you. And then they're like, oh, wait, we can't, because you're not really a nurse. So the Critics' Choice Awards are an interesting award, and that's more, you get more of the pop culture sort of movies get their awards there. But apparently they have something called the Critics' Choice Super Awards, which focuses more on, I guess, blockbusters and, stuff like that. So I'm going to see if there's a list of, if not, I'll just read you the list of the names that I have on here already. Critics' Choice Super Awards. There we go. The 5th annual Critics' Choice Super Awards, honoring superhero, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and action movies and series. All right, so let's see. Do we have a listing of them? Here we go. Best Action Movie, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Best Actor in Action Movie, Tom Cruise for Mission Impossible. Best Actress in an Action Film, June Squibb for Thelma. Best Superhero Movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. Best Actor in a Superhero Movie, Hugh Jackman, Deadpool and Wolverine. Best Actress in a Superhero Movie, Florence Pugh and Thunderbolts. Yay, Florence. Best Horror Movie, Sinners. Best Actor in a Horror Movie, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners. Best Actress in a Horror Movie, Demi Moore for The Substance. Best Science Fiction Fantasy Movie, Dune Part 2. Best Actor in a Science Fiction Fantasy Movie, Timothée Chalamet for Dune Part 2. Best Actress in a Science Fiction Fantasy Movie, Sophie Thatcher for Companion. Best Villain in a Movie, Hugh Grant as Heretics. Television winners, Best Action Series, Limited Series on Made-for-TV Movie, Shogun. Best Actor in Action Series, Limited Series, Hiroyuki Sanada was Shogun. Best Actress was Anna Sawai in Shogun. Best Superhero Series, Limited Series, or Made-for-TV Movie, The Penguin. Best Actor in those things, Colin Farrell. Best Actress, Christine Milioti. Best Horror Series, The Last of Us. Best Actor, Pedro Pascal in The Last of Us. Best Actress in a Horror Series, Jodie Foster for True Detective Night Country. Best Science Fiction Fantasy Series, Andor. Best Actor, Diego Luna, Andor. Best Actress in a Science Fiction Fantasy Series, Britt Lower for Severance. Best Villain in a Series, Limited Series was Colin Farrell. So that's kind of interesting that they do sort of a separate sort of thing for superhero stuff like that. But I guess the cutoff was May, since Florence won for Best Actress and Sinners came out in April. So there you go. Deaths. Brendan Blackstark, Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband and her manager, died at the age of 48. John Miyahama, a Superstore actor from the show Superstore, passed away this week. A lot of anniversaries. Coyote Ugly, 25 years ago this week. Heavy Metal, 46 years ago this week. Stand By Me, 39 years ago this week. Real Genius, fantastic film, 40 years ago this week. The Pirate Movie, my wife's favorite movie, 43 years ago this week. Unforgiven, 33 years ago this week. The Sixth Sense, 26 years ago this week. And The Fugitive, 32 years ago this week. So a hell of a lot of good movies came out this week. And there's still more to come because we still got 2 full pages to go. Two earthquakes hit East Tennessee in the last 24 hours. So earthquakes are really moving along here. KJ Apa, who was on Riverdale, will be playing Jimmy Stewart in a biopic that is sanctioned by Jimmy Stewart's family. So they're the ones who are pushing for this movie to get made. So they'll put Jimmy in a good light. I don't think he did anything bad, so that's good. But KJ Apa will be playing Jimmy Stewart in the biopic. A live-action Scooby-Doo show is officially in the works at Netflix. It was just rumored for a while, but has now officially been greenlit. Oh, it's water. Noelle's taking her shower now. Regretting You trailer. It's another one that surprised the hell out of me. I'm a sucker for rom-coms, and I really like McKenna Grace. I think she's a really good young actress. She's finally getting a romantic comedy lead film, and Regretting You is that film. First trailer for that came out. And what's really even better is the keep it in the family-ish kind of. McKenna Grace's male lead and the woman that's the object of her affection, and she's the object of his affection, is her real life boyfriend. I forget his name, but he's an actor also. So they'll be working together. Or they already filmed it. So they've been dating, and they were dating when they made this film. It's got a very interesting cast attached to it, and it looks like it's sort of a typical sort of rom-com. It could very well be next year's, or I think it's maybe coming out later this year. Could be this year's Anyone But You film, but it looks really, really good, and we'll keep you posted on that. Back in 2020, when we were all stuck in our homes due to COVID, right around the 4th of July, Disney Plus decided they were going to release a filmed version, a filmed what's the thing? Performance, a performance of the musical Hamilton with the original cast that was filmed. They decided they were going to air it on Disney Plus for 4th of July. So you get Lin-Manuel Miranda and all the big actors who were in it, who created the roles. They showed it. It did very well. Got a lot of views. We watched it on 4th of July because I'd never seen Hamilton before. I think my daughter had. So I'd never seen it before. So it was kind of fun to see it with the original cast and crew. Well, it's the 10th anniversary is coming up here for Hamilton, and they've decided to celebrate that. They're going to take that film performance and put it in movie theaters on September 5th. So you'll be able to see Hamilton on the big screen with the lead actors who originated the role. That's sort of what it is, up there on the screen. A film that's probably filmed 10 years ago when it first came out. So there we go. Oh, the Wrong Paris trailer actually looks surprisingly engaging. Also, again, it's a rom-com, but this one's on Netflix, so it might be one of those like guilty pleasures that when I'm home by myself, I might pop it in to see what it looks like. Set debut September 12th, starring Miranda Cosgrove. The premise is a woman who has always wanted to go to Paris, France, and actually has to go there because she's trying to get to a school over there or work or something like that, drop off or something like that to get to. And she figured the best way to do that is she doesn't have the money to do it, but she needs to get there to get this job or whatever. So she finds out that there is a reality dating show that's set in Paris, France. And she's going to go down to audition for it. And she doesn't care if she wins or loses. She just wants to go to Paris and do this show. And once she gets kicked off the show, she can go do what she needs to do because she's already over there. And she was brought over by the producer. So they paid for her way. And then she can go in and she can get her job and her whole life can go great. However, the producer of the show said, well, there was no way we were going to get any interest if we showed you what it actually really is about. And they tricked the contestants into believing they're going to Paris, France, when they're actually going to Paris, Texas. And the reality dating show is basically kind of like Cowboy Wants a Wife. So it's basically a cowboy who's looking for a wife is the main star of this romantic dating show. So she's obviously devastated because she wants to go to Paris, but as in true rom-com fashion, she actually finds him attractive and ends up falling in love with him and trying to win the competition. And he ends up, falling for her as well. But there's rom-com situations like that. It looks entertaining. It looks fun. The trailer just released, set to debut September 12th. As I said, might be one of those where the family's away for the weekend. I got the house to myself. Guilty pleasure. Let's pop it in and see what it's like. Richard Linklater is very, very busy. He's got 2 movies coming to Netflix. They might be going to movie theaters first and then coming to Netflix. I think one is going to Netflix directly. The other might be going to movie theater and then Netflix. That one is Blue Moon. Richard Linklater directs, and he directs his longtime star that he uses all the time, actor he uses all the time, Ethan Hawke, and Margaret Qualley's in it as well. And the premise behind that is before there was Rodgers and Hammerstein, the people who wrote some of the greatest musicals of all time, there was Rodgers and Hart, who wrote some decent musicals, but Rodgers is definitely tired and wants to move on and met Hammerstein, and the two of them got along pretty well, and they wrote a new musical together that's being very successful. And so we follow Hart, who's feeling rejected, and stuff like that, played by Ethan Hawke. So it looks intriguing. It's Linklater, it's Ethan Hawke, it's musical theater. I might check it out. Linklater's other movie, let's see if I have it available here, or I will wait. It should be on this page. Might be later on that page. Yeah, it's got to be on this page then somewhere else. It'll pop up somewhere. I'll probably discover it as well. So that's what that is coming up. Molly Shannon is set to re-team with Will Ferrell in his new golf comedy series for Netflix. They worked together on Saturday Night Live for the longest time, and now they're re-teaming for this golf comedy series for Netflix. Jack Rayner is set to join Rachel Brosnahan in Presumed Innocent Season 2. Netflix to do a film version of William Shatner's T.J. Hooker, which is interesting. Not excited about this because I still believe this was where everything changed. The Passion of the Christ was one of the highest grossing films ever, and it was done by a noted anti-Semite, Mel Gibson, who was abusive to his wife and girlfriends and is just a total douchebag prick. And Jim Caviezel played Jesus, and it was his, last days, from the Last Supper through his torture, through him getting hung up on the cross. And Mel Gibson's hatred of Jews made the Jews turn out to be the bad guys. And also because Mel Gibson is a torture porn freak, you get to see the brutal beating in depth of Jesus over and over again, and just the slash. And that's what the movie is. But the Baptists took it over, and the crazy Nationalist Baptist people, they took it over and they pushed it to this big 329 domestic debut sort of thing. And that sort of, when they saw that religious group had such power, that politicians decided to start using them to get into places. And then you get the Tea Party, and you get all this stuff, and you get the felon in chief, pedophile in chief right now, who's in the White House, doing all this stuff to appease these people because they are a huge voting bloc. They got them there because they can get themselves together. So because it was so successful, Mel Gibson has decided that he's going to do the second part called The Resurrection of the Christ, which could be interesting since there's no torture porn, but it's about him, coming back to life and meeting up with his apostles, stuff that goes with that, leading to his return. I think that's Epiphany, return to heaven at the end after he talks to everybody. Is being split into two movies, so great. First one is due out 2027. Jim Caviezel is set to return as Jesus Christ. In the Spider-Verse movies, one of the more popular characters, Spider-Punk, who is voiced by Daniel Kaluuya. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it wrong. Had very minimal screen time, but became hugely popular. Well, Daniel Kaluuya, not Kahlua, that's alcohol, is co-writing a standalone Spider-Punk animated film. And he will again portray the voice from Sony. Rumor also has it there's going to be a Spider-Woman animated film and another animated film spin-off of the Spider-Verse stuff. Spider-Verse is going to end in 2027, so they figure they want to keep it up because it's still hugely popular. We get our first look at Jay Kelly, which is a Netflix thing also. They'll have a limited theatrical debut the weekend before Thanksgiving. And it'll be set for Netflix for December 5th. Stars Adam Sandler and George Clooney. And the first trailer for that came out. It just looks like a actor who's hugely popular, who's starting to, he's getting older. And so the roles are starting to drop a little bit, but he's still fairly popular. But he's going through some sort of emotional issue, meets up with regular guy Sandler, and he sort of teaches him how to live life and stuff like that. This is just what I got from the trailer. I don't know if that's exactly what it's about. So it looks okay. We'll see. Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, has been cast as the villain in the Ryan Gosling, Mia Goth Star Wars film Starfighter, directed by Sean Levy. So that's a pretty interesting casting there. After saying he was trying to find somebody else to direct Avatar 4 and 5 for him, and nobody bit, James Cameron said, fine, I'll direct them. So he's going to be directing Avatar 4 and 5. However, he's got 2 other non-Avatar films in the works right now that I think he's going to cover again. And because he saw that there was no downside to having like a 13-year difference between films. So the first one came out in 2009, the second one was like 2023, something like that. So it was like 14-year difference. Since he saw that it still became hugely popular after 14 years, that it would be okay if there's a few more years between 3 and 4. 3 is set to debut this December. As I said, number 2 came out only about maybe a year or so ago, 2 years ago, I think. So I'm not sure if he's going to hit that $1 billion mark like he had for the first 2. First one was because no one had ever seen the thing before. It was crazy. The second one because it was so long between films, 14 years. But now after only about 2 years, it's like, okay, we have another one. So is it going to make money? I'm making the prediction now, and I'll make it again when I do my fall movie preview in a few weeks. I don't think it's going to be making $1 billion. Now, I could be absolutely wrong, but I just honestly, I don't see it being, it's still going to be a big hit. I just don't see it being a massive hit, but that's just me. But he is saying he will direct 4 and 5, but he does have Ghost of Hiroshima, which the book just came out, which sounds really interesting. I want to read the book, and then and hopefully he does a good job with the movie. And then there's another book that he bought the rights to that he wants to direct also. So he might direct those 2 first, which aren't as big budget and as expensive and special effectsy as the Avatar films are. So you can probably crank those out in the next, he can probably crank both of them out probably in the next 5 years. And then he can start working on Avatar. So we're looking at maybe an 8 to 10 year from number 3 to number 4. That's just my prediction about what's going on, because I really think he's been all over wanting to adapt these 2 books and direct them as well. So, and maybe he wants to get a little bit away from Avatar for a little bit. That's why I was trying to get somebody else to direct it. But when nobody said they wanted to, I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. But he wants to take a little break from it. So that'd be good. I think he'd do a really good job with Ghost of Hiroshima. And the other one sounds interesting. I don't know much about it, but so we'll see what happens. Sirius XM has canceled, not really canceled, but yeah, it's canceled. Howard Stern, his show will end on Sirius XM at the end of the year. And Howard Stern's been doing this since like the 80s, maybe even the 70s. It might be time for him to retire. So this might be right down his alley. He's not complaining about it. He's not yelling and screaming about it. So it makes sense. He probably is like, you know what? I had a good run. It's time for me to retire. So we'll see if that happens. A 3.5 magnitude earthquake hit San Bernardino County in California. Again, not too surprising. Now remember, the way the Earth works, Northern Hemisphere, when it's summer, it's winter in the Southern Hemisphere. One of the main countries in the Southern Hemisphere right now is Australia. So Australia right now is going through their late winter right now. Not really late winter because it's still halfway through winter. If you think about it, from June to mid-September is the dearth of summer. You're right in the middle of it. But everybody looks at June, July, and August as summer, and then September, October, November as fall. So all intents and purposes, everything's flipped. So it's winter down south. So they're getting cold weather. They're getting stuff like that. A Australian town got a massive snowfall, and they haven't gotten snow for a really, really long time, if ever, but they did get a massive snowfall this year. And the pictures of everybody just like fascinated by it, enjoying it. There's kangaroos running in the snow as it was coming down. So it's kind of interesting to see that, but it was wild to see an Australian city covered in snow, and we're up here in the middle of summer, but we know because of the hemisphere changes. So their spring is coming with our fall coming. So they're going to get warm here in a second. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You trailer from A24, Rose Byrne, Conan O'Brien, and ASAP Ricky. I watched the trailer. I still didn't quite get what it's about and why it's named that, but okay, there it is. The Twits, that's right, is the Roald Dahl film that Netflix is doing. Set to debut October 17th. So time for some more Theater of the Absurd. A man is arrested for shooting at a seagull who stole his funnel cake in Atlantic City. Theater of the Absurd. That's why the episode is named that. That's fucking insane. Deaths this week. Jane Etta Pitt, Brad Pitt's mom, died at the age of 84. Eddie Palmieri, a avant-garde Latin jazz musician, passed away this week. Terry Reid, a Led Zeppelin singer, died at the age of 75. Kelly Mack, actress, age 33, died. She was an actress in Walking Dead and 911. Song Young-kyu, a South Korean actor, died at the age of 55. And anniversaries, we have the original Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, 22 years this week. James L. Brooks won this day. The Other Guys, 15 years ago this week. Collateral, 21 years ago this week. Mystery Men, 26 years ago this week. Risky Business, 42 years ago this week. Halloween H2O, 27 years ago this week. And the TV show What's Happening, which I watched when I was younger, debuted 49 years ago this week. So on our last page now. Let me get a little drink here. Just before I went on the air, I was looking through the Facebook and something popped up on my feed that I've been waiting for a while. We got our first look. We got our first teaser trailer for the live action One Piece Season 2. Enjoyed the first season. It's been a couple years since it came out. My wife and daughter and I watched it. We loved it, and we were excited for Season 2 and hoping it was going to be able to make its way out this year, but it didn't. It got pushed to 2026. So we got our first teaser trailer for that. And at the end of the teaser trailer, they announced that it has been picked up for a third season. So One Piece live action is going to be around at least for 2 more years. Obviously, they're going to start production on Season 3 now. So they might have it done so that they won't have the big gap like they had between Season 1 and Season 2. So good job on that. Check that out if you haven't seen it. It was a great show, and the sequel looks just as good. 2 earthquakes rattled New Jersey, New York. I think I talked about one. Another one came a couple days later. Mark Wahlberg and Lakeith Stanfield. We got our first look at them in Play Dirty, due out on Amazon Prime October 1st. That's the Shane Black movie I talked about last week. I wasn't sure about, but there we go. There's so many choices for a last roll, so I'm not even going to do that. Breast milk ice cream is now for sale nationwide. I know I talked about that before, but it was just like a mail order thing, but now they're apparently going to release it worldwide. So, okay. Again, I talked about K-pop Demon Hunters. My wife is obsessed with them, or Monster Hunter Demon Hunters, I think, is obsessed with the movie. It is now officially the most watched original animation film in Netflix history. And rumors that there's going to be a stage play made of it as well, but there's all kinds of rumors spreading about it as well. Daryl McCormick joins Pride and Prejudice at the new Pride and Prejudice adaptation on Netflix. Ella McKay trailer, written and directed by James L. Brooks, Jamie Lee Curtis, Woody Harrelson, Emma McKay, Albert Brooks, Ayo Edebawe, who was the one I was talking about. This is the one she was in. Set to debut December 12th. That's not crazy. Halle Berry and Jaimin Hansu are set to star in the movie Red Card. That's what this says. Red Card. Yep. I think it's an action film. The annual Back to Hogwarts celebration that happens at King's Crossing Station every September 1st has been canceled and will not be done ever again, which is a shame because, despite J.K. Rowling's absolutely insane, disgusting beliefs, it was still a fun little thing for the fans to do, but now they cannot do it anymore. Kool-Aid Ghoul-Aid, a Zomberry flavor, is set to debut this Halloween. This sounds freaking awesome. Pop-Tart is releasing a new fall Pop-Tart called Apple Pie a la Mode. It's got apple and vanilla cream between the two vanilla cookies. Sounds freaking awesome. And as soon as it comes out, I am buying them and eating the shit out of them. Told you the Buffy reboot is underway, and another great name. There's a whole bunch of great names of actors who are in the reboot, but this one is Kingston Viernes has joined the cast of the Buffy reboot, playing the love interest of the new Buffy. It's not, her name isn't Buffy though, but the new Vampire Slayer. That's another crazy. That's another crazy one. I already talked about that. This is kind of weird. I don't understand the Dubai chocolate craze. I've never tried Dubai chocolate. I don't know what makes it different than any other chocolate, but it has become up there with Mike's Hot Honey, which is something that also it doesn't make a lot of sense, but everything has a Mike's Hot Honey thing now. And now it seems like everything has a Dubai chocolate thing too. So IHOP decided to one-up everybody on it. They made a regular edition Dubai chocolate pancake stacker it's like the pancake of the month or something like that, for $13. But they decided, because it's such apparently a decadent dessert, they decided that they were going to make a decadent version of it. So they're going to have the Dubai chocolate with a gold flecks on the pancakes, which is going to cost you $100. But it's only available at certain stores. Only 25 of the IHOP stores in the country will be offering this for $100. Still won't get it. Spike Lee and Denzel Washington, this will be their 5th time working together. The new trailer for The Highest to Lowest debuted this week, not really explaining much. Didn't go into much detail, but it looks like some sort of financial sort of movie sort of thing. Jurassic World Rebirth is set to hit 4K and Blu-ray on September 9th. Khaki Fever, I guess, is a trailer debuted for a raunchy Game Ranger comedy, I guess. An Indonesia volcano erupted, and 2 Russian volcanoes erupted after the Russian earthquake hit. Marvel changed the world back in the 90s with the Marvel 2099 series. They are finally putting the 2099 series to bed, and they're creating a 3099 series with brand new characters that is set to debut this fall. There it is. The other Linklater movie coming out is Nouvelle Vague, a black and white film set to debut on Netflix on November 14th. From what I've seen, that has no big stars in it, and it is more of an homage to French filmmaking. So don't know if I'll watch that, but we'll see. Jack White has finally finished one of his bucket list things. He has visited every single Major League Baseball stadium. So congratulations to him. Ernie Hudson is set to join the Blue Bloods spinoff. So good for him also. Before I get to the many final stories that are going to put a capper on this episode, Theater of the Absurd, we have one death. I think that's about it. There's no anniversaries. Cornelius Neil Patterson, a former Baltimore Colt player, passed away this week. So we're just going to go down and just start doing these Theater of the Absurd storylines. This one's not quite as absurd, but it's kind of cool, actually. Portland Pickles, I guess, is one of these independent minor league sort of baseball teams. You know, have you ever been to a minor league baseball team or one of these independent baseball leagues? They make the baseball experience more fun because Portland doesn't have a regular baseball team. The closest baseball team to them is probably the Seattle Mariners or potentially the San Francisco Giants, depending on where Portland is. And it's about halfway between both of them. But that's still a heck of a long drive. You want to see Major League Baseball. So you got a bunch of these like minor baseball teams. Could be a minor league team or could be like a independent league. I'm not sure what the Portland Pickles are, but they are a team like that. And it's out in I'm assuming it's out in Oregon. I don't think it's Portland, Maine. Anyway, as part of their, making baseball entertaining, they picked, and I truly believe this was random. They picked a random guy, young guy, probably in his 20s, out of the stands to join them for a couple innings. He played in the outfield and made a couple good catches, and he went to bat twice. His first at bat, I think he lined out, he's not a professional baseball player going up against, minor league talent, but still they're pretty good talent. His second at bat, however, he slammed a home run that won the game for them, I think. So kind of a cool moment for him, and not really theater of the absurd, but kind of a neat little storyline. This is just kind of just a weird story. A billionaire friend of Prince William dies after swallowing a bee during a polo match. Now, you might think that's kind of weird and wild, and how could that happen? My assumption would have to be that he was allergic to bees, and in the middle of it, swallowing a bee, and you're allergic to it, that would definitely put you, out of commission. And it doesn't surprise me that that's what it is. I'm not saying that's what it is because I don't know, but I would assume that's the only way I could think of that someone could die from swallowing a bee during a polo match. A woman was found dead on a bus with 26 iPhones glued to her body, which is kind of weird in and of itself. So don't know what's going on about that. 2 teenagers were busted trying to launch meth into Louisiana prison with a cannon. Theater of the absurd. A fish falls from the sky and sparks a brush fire in California. No, in Colorado, I think. That in Canada. I'm sorry, in Canada. That's just crazy. A fish falling from the sky starts a brush fire. There's probably more to the story, but I just read the headline. I was like, okay, that's good clickbait, but there you go. So I got 2 stories left. I got to figure out which one would be a good one to end on. I think I'll end on that one. This is, again, not theater of the absurd, but just kind of a funny little thing. A 78-year-old grandmother wins the Tekken 8 video game tournament as a panda character. So a 78-year-old woman won a Tekken 8 video game competition tournament. Not something to be held, but no. These are professionals who go and do these tournaments, and she beat them with a panda skin. That's freaking awesome. So our final story for this week. A few years ago, Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver started a movie called A Marriage Story. Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver, I think, were both nominated for the roles in that film, but it's a dissertation on marriage and dissolving marriage. And there's a sequence in the film where Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver are screaming at each other. So scientists have decided they were going to use a recording of that sequence of Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver yelling at each other. They recorded it, made a recording of it, and are playing it on repeat in state parks to deter wolves away from the area. So these high-pitched screams and yells, loud human yells like that, are forcing wolves to go, whoa, I'm not going anywhere near those crazy people. I'm out of here. And I think that's freaking awesome. That's it for the theater of the absurd. Next week's episode, I will be here by myself with my daughter. My son and my wife will be doing sea base next week, spending time out on a boat, flying to Key West, stuff like that. Should be a good final summer thing for them both. I'll just be working and doing anything, just doing crazy stuff. I can't think of anything new or exciting that's coming out this week. I really don't have anything. So we'll see where the week takes us and see if we get more of the theater of the absurd storylines, or if we get just, regular normal stuff, and whatever new pop culture stuff rolls that through here, whatever new celebrity deaths come through here, we will be here on Dylan Knows to figure it out. Yeah, so the Skolix went out there. Okay. Oreos are getting, here's something new, getting glow-in-the-dark packs and getting new Halloween spooky colored cream. So that's pretty cool. And there's that. That's the end of that. So that's the final bit I'm going to talk about for the show. So it won't be on next week's show. Oh, and here's something else too. Summer Rental starring John Candy was released 40 years ago today in movie theaters. So congratulations on that. Came out like at the same time as Real Genius and stuff like that. So there we go. I did that one also. So anything else? I think that's going to be it right now. Yep, that is going to be all. We got first look at Good Boy, the horror told through a dog's eyes as it watches its owner tormented by supernatural forces. It's actually coming out later this year, so we got our first look at it. So that could be an intriguing film as well. So there we go. That's going to be the final story here. Yeah, it's going to be the final story. Anything else can wait till next week. All right. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.